It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. Anthony, you gotta shift that way. I don't know who messed with your computer / your camera. There we go. There's Anthony now properly in frame. And I must ask a question, Anthony. It's a Victory Monday, and I'm not the left hand up guy. That's you. Where's the left hand up song? Because they won. I know they didn't play great, but they did win.
Yeah, see what had happened was this computer over here, my drive didn't pull up. And I can do Hour Opener and song from this computer.
I see.
I
see. Okay. Well, there's that. But hey, I think what you learned yesterday watching this game is that not everything's always going to go according to plan, but you can come out victorious anyway. So we're going to try our best here on a Monday edition of the Hoffman Show, and we're going to get things started with First and 10.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3, First up, 10 observations.
And just boom, put him right on the ground.
It's First and 10.
All right, let's get rolling, and let's just state something that you probably already know, but it's something that maybe I can shed a little more light on in terms of depth.
Number 1.
The Commanders' offensive line missed Tyler Biadasz terribly yesterday. Yes, it is that important that I am making it number 1. However, it is not because they gave up 8 sacks. Absolutely hilariously. This is too stupid to make up. I cannot possibly do this as some contrarian thing. It is too trollish. You never believe me, and that is not how I do this job. The 8 sacks are mostly not on the O-line. I'm literally going to run through all 8 of them in this segment in First and 10, but that's going to be in the Jayden Daniels section because a lot of the sacks are actually on Jayden. However, there's about 4, 5, maybe like 8 or 9 even plays that easily could have been sacks that Jayden also saved the offensive line's butt. So in a way, the offensive line did kind of have an 8 sack type of performance. Maybe not 8, like let's say 5 or 6 sack type of performance. It just didn't happen to be the ones where the Saints actually got sacks. Where the Commanders really missed Tyler Biadasz, or when the Commanders' offensive line really played poorly yesterday, though, was in the run game. That was horrendous. That was probably their worst performance of the season, where they just got their butts handed to them in the line of scrimmage. There's like stunts and things that they just could not handle on the right side. And I know you're probably like, yeah, Andrew Wiley. I told you should have started Cornelius Lucas. Andrew Wiley was fine yesterday. He had a couple of misses. I'm not telling you he was perfect, but he had a normal amount of stuff. Sam Cosmi yesterday had his worst game of the season. I don't know what happened to him yesterday. And someone commented on YouTube on our instant reaction show from Take Command, maybe there's a bug going around the offensive line room, and it's whatever Biadasz got that held him out. Maybe everyone else is sick and not feeling well. And that would make me feel a lot better moving forward, because then at least I know what happened to them yesterday. That was weird. It was like someone took Sam Cosmi's powers, Space Jam style. And by the way, the rushing numbers, as bad as they were for the running backs, obviously they look a little bit better because Jayden had some big scrambles. The biggest run play of the game for Brian Robinson was a pass that happened to be a lateral, and it counts as a 20-yard run. Imagine how much worse it would be. B-Rob would have been under 3 yards a carry had that not happened. And so I think that should inform the rest of our discussions today, including the inevitable calls for how bad Cliff Kingsbury was yesterday. I didn't love the 3rd and 1 call down at the goal line, although that's been one of their best plays down there. I think there's some personnel issues, which we'll get to. But all in all, I think Cliff was actually pretty fine yesterday. If Jayden hits 1 or 2 of those shots to Terry, if a couple of other things happen that are beyond Cliff's control, you're fine. And I don't think they actually needed to run the ball more, even though I thought that in the immediate aftermath after watching 3 quarters worth of the tape, because they were so freaking bad at it. And they lost physically, mental mistakes, missed assignments, mistargeted. Dieter was not very good, and it's a tough spot, right? It's not like Dieter was the replacement all week and he practiced and he just didn't show up. This dude was told Sunday morning after not practicing with the starters all week, hey man, Tyler can't go, time to party. And that's a tough spot. You're not going to be as sharp as if you get a full week of practice. There's a reason why the starters get the most reps. And during the season, why the backups really don't get a lot of reps, because you got to prep your starter because they're the ones that are going to play. And all of a sudden, one of them doesn't play at a position that's that important, and that's kind of the performance that you get.
Number 2.
Okay, the bad of Jayden yesterday first, and then I want to get to the good. Because this game was in many ways a crystallization of why Jayden's pressure to sack ratio, remember that number, the number that we talked about all through the process? Like, man, is he going to take a lot of sacks? Is this a problem? I don't know. He is really kind of great at running. He ran for 1,000 yards at LSU last year. Like, how do we square all this? I think you see yesterday why that number was so high and an area for potential improvement for Jayden Daniels. As I mentioned, a lot of the sacks are not actually on the offensive line, even if the offensive line overall did not play that well. So let's run through them real quick. I charted all of them. First and 10, it's like the first play of the game. 14:50, first play of the second quarter. B-Rob, it flares out. It looks like he's trying to, it's almost like a quasi screen. It's a weird pass protection. But Jayden has time. And he looks at B-Rob and he doesn't throw it. And he looks at some other stuff and he doesn't throw it. You're just like, hey man, throw the ball. If he can get back, if he has the wheel click, they're like, hey, all these defenders, there's too many defenders over here. He had faked a reverse to Olamide Zaccheaus, who is wide open in the flat to his backside, to his left. Never comes back to it. Instead, he tucks it. That sack's on Jayden. Second sack, 3rd and 16. Jayden steps up in a perfectly fine pocket. Coleman gives up some pressure, but Jayden kind of runs into the sack. If you want to put that one on Coleman, that's fine with me. I'd also say Jayden deserves half a sack there. 1st and 10, 11:25 to go in the second quarter. Play action boot, no one's open. That's a coverage sack. 1st and 10, 2 minutes to go. Our first play out of the 2 minute. Jayden vacates a clean pocket, covered well. He doesn't need to go when he goes. Find a check down, find something, find a way to throw the ball away, especially in a 2 minute. Hey, just throw it over someone's head. Don't run. Don't take a sack. It's bad for the clock. And so instead, he does, and voila. So for the first 4, we have Jayden/Coleman, coverage, Jayden/coverage. Get into the very next play, 3rd and 10. They're sitting in empty. Blitz gets home. It's kind of on Jayden. It's kind of credit to the defense. Jayden should have seen the blitzer coming. He could have gotten the ball out early if he did, and at the very least avoid the sack. Next sack, I'm going to put on the play call. That's the 3rd and 1 at the goal line. Jayden Daniels has no shot on that one. I thought the play had no shot. That's one where Luke McCaffrey's got to do a way better job chipping Cam Jordan, but also I'm talking about Luke McCaffrey chipping Cam Jordan. How'd you think that one was going to go? 2nd and 14, 1 minute 22 to go in the third quarter. He's staring right at Olamide Zaccheaus on a choice route. Choice route, slant, something. Oh, he's staring right at him. He wins. He's wide open. He doesn't throw it. Then he moves poorly in the pocket where Brandon Coleman has given up a little bit of pressure but has mostly washed Chase Young out. And instead, Jayden steps right back into Chase. And he needs to learn how to vacate the pocket in more effective ways. That one's on Jayden. And then on a 3rd and 4 with 9:04 to go in the game, Wiley takes pressure. There's pretty good coverage down the field. Jayden probably could get the ball out to a check down, but doesn't. And also, it shouldn't have mattered because Olamide Zaccheaus was tackled in the middle of his route, and it should have been an illegal contact down the field. So that one, if you want to put that one and the second sack on the offensive line, one on Wiley, one on Coleman, I'm fine with that. That's still 6 sacks that are on the quarterback or the coverage. So the problem is, again, for the O-line, that there's other stuff. But I think these sacks are indicative of when Jayden gets in trouble is when he is not decisive enough vacating the pocket or vacates it in a way that actually invites pressure instead of escaping it. And often that is when he is actually protected and he's just got to learn, hey, the clock's going off in my head, but I'm fine right now. Can I find something down the field? Or no, where is my check down? It's time. Let me just get the ball to the check down. But here's the thing.
Number 3.
He made so many freaking plays in this game that I want to lay that out just so people understand and have the context of kind of what really happened. But the trade-off you get for him is worth it. no quarterback is perfect. No quarterback always makes the right decision, always vacates the pocket the right way, at the right time, optimal results. It's football. It's professional football. It is really, really, really hard. And yet, Jayden has 20-plus yard scrambles in this game. Jayden has plays that he makes on the run. Jayden barely misses Terry McLaurin multiple times for multiple touchdowns that are good reads. The first touchdown that he throws to Terry McLaurin is an absolute magic play. That is silly. There is nothing doing on that play. And he runs kind of into some pressure, not in a bad way. It's just like dudes were chasing him. He somehow avoids it, steps up, and just slings a ball that Terry McLaurin comes down and gets. Like, that's insane. That's number 2 pick stuff. That's all pro quarterback stuff. And he does enough of that stuff that, especially while he's a young player, and he's figuring out all the other things that you can criticize, critique, and say, hey, these are areas that are opportunities for growth. He does enough stuff right now to help you win football games left, right, and sideways. Like, it is remarkable the amount of plays he generated in this game, the consistency on some of the quick game stuff, how he's able to get the ball out in the right spot, in the right timing. And so, was this Jayden's best game as a pro? Not even close. Was this a good game from Jayden? Actually, I think, yeah. Like, overall, I would say this is like a 6.5 out of 10 game. So more good than bad, and I might even go 7 out of 10. And if you can just hit some of the layups, some of the easy wins, some of the checkdowns, some of the quick games, some of the stuff that he missed, that he's been kind of robotically good at in other areas of the season, they're going to be just fine against better teams. Now, there's other stuff that needs to be cleaned up, and there's other things that need to be talked about. We'll get to all of that next on the back half of First and 10. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live on the free Odyssey app. we go, Ant. Happy Victory Monday to all of you. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Coming up at 4:30, your calls at 301-230-0980. This is going to be a very, very interesting Tell the Truth Monday. But we're going to do it with you coming up at 4:30. Right now, we wrap up First and 10, first segment, 10 observations from the game. So let's keep it rolling after our first three. Two Jayden Daniels thoughts, and of course, the offensive line.
Number 4.
Oh, wow. Terry could have broken the team's season touchdown record yesterday. I mean, he's got 3 would-be touchdowns that missed by less than 5 feet combined. First 2, I feel like Jayden didn't have a good ball trajectory on it. He threw them way too flat, which just eliminates all the margin for error. They have to be perfect. Jayden's typically so good at putting air under it, letting the receiver adjust, and for whatever reason, he just didn't. Then on the third one, he put a little bit too much air under it, and Terry, I thought she could have had a PI. If that ball's perfectly thrown, though, he probably scores. Just Terry is a freaking boss. But I think the other part about that performance yesterday is some of the big plays that he did have came on the right side. They came in the slot. Cliff has, I think, learned his lesson that on this team, with this group of receivers, Terry needs to move around. They need to find ways to generate matchups. And I think that's especially true against teams that play man-to-man. I feel like they have a lot of good receivers against zone, guys who just know where to be, will open up at the right time, and fairly reliably catch the ball. But they don't necessarily have guys with quick twitch and juice that can get open outside of Terry. So if you can create better matchups or create confusion amongst the defense by putting Terry in certain spots, it's really good. And like, for instance, they get Terry on Tyrann Mathieu on a bench route, like an 18-yard out in the third quarter because they lined him up in the slot. It's on the left, but it's in the slot. And so it's a cover 2 look, and Terry is unencumbered 15 yards into the secondary. And Matthew's like, well, I got to stay on top of him because he could just keep running and go deep. Terry breaks off the route. Bang, it's a 25-yard gain. So there's stuff like that they're doing more and more often. And just imagine if Terry catches one of those. Nevertheless, 2 or all 3 of those deep shots that they missed. We're talking about 250 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Terry McLaurin sitting on the all-time touchdown record held by Chris Cooley, Jordan Reed, and others at 12. So that is probably going to happen still for Terry this season. He's on an absolute roll right now. He had 2 in the game, but man, the missed opportunities are the ones that kind of hurt you, and they would hurt a lot more had they actually, lost.
Number 5.
Sticking with the receivers, I thought Dyami Brown was really good yesterday. Obviously, has the play wiped out late by the Allegretti hold, but all in all, some of the routes that he runs that are kind of the Noah Brown routes. We told you that, hey, he's going to be the one who primarily runs a lot of the stuff they relied on Noah for, these deep comebacks, things like that. And he did a really good job. And the way that there's one in particular I'm thinking of where he gets into the teeth of the defense, into the zones, is pushing everyone vertical, breaks it down, and just powerfully comes back and attacks the football, catches it, big gain, first down. Awesome job, Dyami Brown. But I also do think you missed Noah Brown yesterday. For instance, that 3rd and 1 play in the red zone where I thought that Cliff, the run game was awful all day. I get why Cliff doesn't want to run it. I also get that play action boot has been one of their best plays all year, trying to get Jayden on the edge with an option to throw. But it works better with Noah because Noah's a bigger guy who can kind of really actually do some damage on that chip. Luke gives kind of a meh shove, and he's probably not been in that position a ton. And Cam Jordan's been in that position dozens of times, and if not 100 times in his career. He understands what's happening. He understands what's coming. He's prepared, and he blows up the play. Jayden doesn't have a shot. Luke never even gets out into the route. And so it winds up looking like a very stupid play call. I don't think it's a stupid play call. I do think it's not an ideal play call considering the guy that you most likely want executing an extraordinarily key part of that is not available to you in Noah Brown. And I will say, KJ Osborne, who did not play in this game, probably does a better job there. And so that is something to kind of keep in mind when they use tight splits for receivers and they need a guy to block. KJ Osborne's good at that. So that part of the game hopefully will be helpful again next week. But Dyami overall, really, really good replacing Noah. Excellent job.
Number 6.
The injuries did show up in general, though. The offense falls off after Zach Ertz goes out. I mean, he catches that remarkable one-handed catch. And not only is he out the rest of the game, but they lose their ability to go to the 3 tight end sets. So that part of their playbook is gone. And I also do wonder if maybe even that 3rd and 1 call we just talked about is something that they would typically run out of one of those sets. And instead they run it with Luke McCaffrey on the edge, and it doesn't work. And actually, I think that was even 13 personnel, but they're having to use Trent Scott, and maybe that has a different effect, having the jumbo package versus your traditional 3 tight end set. Or could you have even run 3 tight ends plus Trent Scott? That is something that I wonder about. Biotish, we already talked about. Noah Brown, we just talked about. Jeremy Chin. Like, Derek Forrest gives up some stuff on that last drive. If that's Jeremy Chin, is it different? So the injuries did play a huge role yesterday, and it's something to watch in a big, big way moving forward. Speaking of injury replacements.
Number 7.
Ben Sinnott. I know everybody wants more Ben Sinnott. I want more Ben Sinnott, but Ben Sinnott's got to be better if we're going to get more Ben Sinnott. He's not ready yet. He's just not. And I really hope that he will eventually get ready. But I'm a little scared that he is going to be, at best, a number 2 tight end and a guy who is much more John Bates than he is Kyle Juszczyk or Greg Kittle or George Kittle, because he just does not have the short area quickness that the elite tight ends have. And so unless he learns how to old man Zach Ertz it, where Ertz used to have that, but doesn't really have the shake anymore, but understands how to bend routes and use stems and all that kind of stuff, versus like Jordan Reed or Travis Kelce or George Kittle or these guys that just understand how to separate in a space. Like, Sinnott doesn't do that stuff. And they use him in a very limited package that makes me wonder how much trust they have in him. He's just not a nuanced route runner. And I think in general, this game for everybody, the details were not on par. But Sinnott is not detail-oriented enough to play major minutes yet. And so if Ertz is out, I wonder what they do. Cole Turner's still on the practice squad. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. But they are all of a sudden really thin at reliable pass catchers if Zach Ertz does miss the Philadelphia Eagles game with this concussion.
Number 8.
Defensively, I haven't watched the film yet, so I have less on the defense today. We'll continue to talk about it more, obviously, as the week goes. But I think the defensive film is going to be pretty good. And I think it would be exceptional if somebody not named Mike Sainer still could catch the bleeping football. I know Joe Witt is about to lose his ever-loving mind. How many balls are going to hit guys in the hands? Frankie Louvu got hit, I can't remember if it was the 4 or the face, but ball just right to him. You have to take advantage of those opportunities. Oh my goodness. And that defense probably plays great if they have 3 more turnovers, which they had the opportunities to get. So they also did get kind of screwed by the refs on a couple of roughing calls. There's a couple other questionable things that happened. But all in all, I think down in, down out, this defense played pretty well. Rattler got away with a couple that should have been picks. But he was, also Jake Haener has a ball get dropped in the first half. So this defense was kind of this defense. They gave up some stuff. You wish it was a little bit better. They mostly did a good job. And second half wasn't as good as the first. They got, again, Joe Witt Jr. talked last week about being more consistent. And if you're talking first half to second half, yeah, they got to be more consistent. But they actually have been game over game very consistent. They need to be better if they want to take a next step.
Number 9.
Kickers, man. Hard to find a good one this year, huh? Whether you're the Commanders or every other team. I memean, some of the best kickers in the league are having bad years, including Tucker up in Baltimore. It's just 45-yarder. Wide. Just kidding. Quarter was over. Okay, that one's good. And we miss another kick here, another kick there. They just... I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Adam Peters. There's no such thing as a reliable kicker. And if Greg Joseph makes the field goal late, it's a 10-point game, and none of that stuff at the end matters. Which brings us to...
Number 10.
I'm not going to do another officiating rant. But it'd be cool if they got calls right. But all in all, this was a weird football game. The clock stuff at the end of the third quarter, and then, oh my God, the clock stuff at the end of the game where they just stop the clock for 4 seconds for no reason. The game should have been over, and it should have been over at 20-13. You have the sack kind of conundrum where the O-line actually wasn't at fault for most of them, but they actually also didn't really play that well. There was just weird stuff. I mean, Jayden missing 3 wide open shots to Terry. Everything about this game had like a New Orleans VooDoo weirdness, and in that way, the Commanders were lucky to come away with the win. But they did win, and I feel like that needs to actually be underscored based off some of the early online reaction, and we'll see what you guys have to say in Tell the Truth Monday coming up next at 301-230-0980. But when I say they're lucky to win, I don't just mean like, oh my God, based off the performance, they were lucky to win. No, they're lucky to win, and that win means a lot. The entire playoff picture is totally upended if they lose this football game. They didn't. They now probably only have to win 2 of their remaining 3, and they might be able to go 1-2 and split 2-2 down the final 4 and still get in. They are 1 win away from 10 games. They are 2 wins away from their first 11-win season since the early 90s. Win them how you can. And they did. They need to play better if they want to really compete in the playoffs, but they did it. Congratulations. It is a victory Monday. Good job, Commanders. 9 wins. First time since 2015. When we get back here on this Victory Monday, it is also a Tell the Truth Monday. 301-230-0980. Your take on the game next on the Hoffman Show.
1-230-0980 to tell the truth about the Commanders.
You can't handle the truth.
Or hit the comment section at the Team 980 on YouTube.
It is the Hoffman Show, and it is Tell the Truth Monday here on the Team 980. We are always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we got open phone lines, all of them, 301-230-0980. And so once you guys get those loaded up, we will indeed take some of those calls. The YouTube chat is lively, though, and it of course, is touching on one of the things that I didn't spend as much time on in First and 10, but it is I'd say a fairly relevant thing to be talking about. And it's sad because it takes away from what is a really interesting football game. And I think there's a lot of great ball that's played around the league this weekend. And yet, Anthony, you look around the league in all kinds of places. Again, officiating is a huge problem, but there's no bigger miss than, and luckily it wound up not mattering, but there's just no bigger miss than in New Orleans yesterday, where the officials just absolutely, for no reason, at the end of the game, nearly hand New Orleans a win because they let them run an extra play. I mean, the clock is stopped at 9 seconds as everyone's scrambling in a place like it's college football, and they stop it to reset the chains. I don't know what the hell that official was doing who stopped the clock. And the other thing that I don't really understand, on top of, I thought this captured it very well in the YouTube chat from Matt. Matt goes, it'd be cool if $1 billion business could handle competent officials, or could hire competent officials that can keep track of how much time is on the clock. And, that's the thing. Okay, let's say they do mess it up on the field. For some reason, the official's giving the stop the clock sign like an idiot. I don't know what the hell was going through that dude's mind. And Sean Hockley then is like, no, wind the clock, keep it going. As the referee, what they should do in that situation is New York should get on the horn. Right? They're connected to New York at all times in the league office. And Sean Hockley should get on the mic and say, the previous play is under the review. The clock stopped in error. We are going to recalibrate the clock based off what should have happened. Right? Because, Anthony, I want you to try to be the Saints for a second. If you're Darren Rizzi and the Saints, and they come back, and Hockley's like, look, you guys were clearly trying to spike the ball. If the clock had been going, you didn't get it off in time. The game's over. You'd probably lose your mind because Darren Rizzi loves to lose his mind. He lost his mind at the end of the third quarter when it was very, yes, they messed that up. He's also a special teams coach, so that probably extra irked him that Greg Joseph got a free miss, and then he was able to nail it through. And that was horribly handled. And so he'd probably lose his mind. But, how mad can you really get when you didn't execute, right? If they had come back and said, upon further review, we wound the clock as it should have gone. The snap did not get off in time because they got it off as fast as they can. It's not like they got to the line of scrimmage and waited, right? The Saints are getting up there as fast as they can, set, hut, bang. And you could say, oh, well, they would have tried to run a different play, whatever. They didn't. They were clearly trying to get to spiking the football. They did, and then the clock should have run out. And if New York comes back and they redo the clock and someone, magically is able to time it out, magically, with a stopwatch, and say, game's over, the Saints should not have any recourse. That's it. The game's over. It's 20-13. All of us that bet, whether for pride or for money, the Commanders -7.5 are still angry at Greg Joseph, but we missed it by a hook. Don't have to sweat out the 2-point conversion. That's how it should have gone down. And it didn't. Why? Because this is a billion-dollar company with dumbass rules and officials that just can't be bothered to do their jobs on a regular basis, and it's infuriating. Let's go to, on a Tell the Truth Monday, Ron. Ron, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show. Ron. You're on the radio,
Hello?
Ron. Yeah, this is the part where you talk on the radio, Ron. Okay. Anthony, you look stressed.
I'm just confused. I literally was just talking to him.
Okay, let's try Frank. Frank, you're on the Hoffman Show.
Here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Fire away.
Yeah, I was trying to understand why a team is penalized 10-second runoff because they have to review whether you caught the ball or not under the 2-minute warning.
Wasn't that a play where they initially marked?
It was New Orleans.
I know the play. It's a fine question. What happened was the ball was caught. Initially, they thought the ball was either incomplete or caught, and then it was out of bounds. But they reviewed it and saw that the ball was caught inbounds. In that case, the clock would have to run. So you catch the ball inbounds, the clock runs. And you don't get a free stoppage of the clock. And so in order to make the clock right, say, hey, the next snap would happen about 10 seconds later if they rush to the line, they just wind 10 seconds. New Orleans had the option to call a timeout and save the 10 seconds. They didn't think it was as valuable, so they took the 10-second runoff.
Oh, okay. I get it now. I thought they were just penalized because the refs had to take time to look at it. Yeah.
No, it's because the clock should have wound because the ball was inbounds. It's a good rule. Thanks, Frank. All right. We have Ron back. Let's try Ron. Ron, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig. How you doing? I love your show, by the way. I like how you break your show into segments.
Thanks.
We're going to be talking about Yeah. Hey, just an observation here. It would seem a team as injury bitten and really the game should never have gotten down to where it did. Everybody would agree on that. But there seems to be a book now on Jayden, and that is keep him in the pocket and rushing from multiple directions. And I'm just worried because, it was 8 sacks yesterday, wasn't it?
I mean, it was, but it also kind of wasn't. Like 2 of those sacks are 0-yard sacks where Jayden tries to run and he doesn't make it past the line of scrimmage. So, like, technically those are sacks, but they're not as hurtful as, like, hey, you got sacked in the pocket -6, you know?
Yeah, I got
like, at that point,
aren't
it's the
you
same
worried?
as if he throws it away and it's an incompletion.
I'd rather see that. I don't want his body to take the lumps. That's what I'm worried about.
No, I hear you. And I think, to your point, Ron, like, it's funny because the way you put it is so simple, but it actually is correct. There's just one problem with it, which what I'm talking about is, hey, the book is out on Jayden. Keep him in the pocket, rush him from all directions. Yeah, if you can blitz from multiple angles and then not have a guy escape, that is the way to sack any quarterback. Just condense the pocket down. The problem for the Commanders is, in order to do that, you have to play man-to-man coverage on the back end. And the Commanders don't have the wide receiver horsepower yet to where Jayden can just be like, oh, you want to blitz me? Okay, well, I've got 3 great receivers who are going to win right now, and I know one of them is going to win, and I'm going to pick my matchup and go. Like, that is a high-risk strategy for most defenses against teams that have better wide receiver talent. The Commanders right now, both because of injury and because of it's year 1 of a rebuild, don't necessarily have that. And so I don't know necessarily if that's a book is out on Jayden versus book is out on specifically the 2024 version of the Commanders.
They need a tight end. That's the safety valve. I mean, it was Eckler. And who knows? Who knows what's going on with Eckler now?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he's got the concussion. All right, thanks for the call, Ron. I mean, yeah. Also, Zach Ertz has been critical in some of those spots. I thought there was a play yesterday where Diami shortens up his route because he knows that Jayden's hot, and Jayden misses it. Like, they've got some guys that can do some things. Obviously, if they move Terry around more and get him closer to the quarterback, that's probably smart. But at the end of the day, like, if you can then generate one-on-ones and they're playing one on the back end, like, okay, well, if you can guess right as a coordinator, you get a one-on-one shot to Terry down the field, like that blitz. I mean, ask Cincinnati how that went. Hey, biggest play of the game, 3rd down, let's blitz. Oh, shoot, Terry McLaurin just caught the pass of the year. Like, it's high risk, high reward. And you can't do it too often because also, you know, you get hit with screens, you get hit with some other stuff. And the screen game was actually back in it yesterday. They did a good job in the wide receiver and running back screen game yesterday. So, again, the idea that Jayden's been figured out or anything, or there's anything revolutionary, I don't think that's the case. Jayden also was 25 of 31 yesterday. Like, he was above 80% completion percentage again. I think it's the 5th time this year. He had almost 300 yards of offense, rushing, throwing. Like, he was pretty good. They just needed to finish yesterday. And if he hits any of those shots to Terry, we're probably not talking about any of this. All right, more of your calls next on a Tell the Truth Monday. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's a Tell the Truth Monday. We're taking your calls at 301-230-0980. All right, now we got a bunch of questions. We got some takes. We got all kinds of stuff. Let's start off with Scott. Scott, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good. I just, I'm so happy. And I mean, I'm happy, and we're 9-5, man. We were 4-13 last year, 4-13. And yesterday during the game, they said it a couple times. We've made the biggest improvement in the NFL in offense and defense in the league. And I understand the game yesterday. The officiating was terrible. And we're not going to cry. We won. That's all. We won. That's all that matters. And we've been on the other end of that so many times. I don't even want to talk about that. But we got our quarterback. We got a great coach. We have a great GM. Man, we're moving in the right direction. I just listening to people talk about this and that. Man, if you'd have told me last year at the end of the year at 4-13 that we were going to be 9-5. And in the playoff hunt, at this point of the season this year, man, I'd be jumping up and down. It's just crazy.
Hey, man, I hear you. I think it's.
I fully trust the people that are making decisions now.
Yes.
We bring people in, they perform. Crowder had a great game. He hasn't played all year. He had a great game. They're gonna make good decisions, man. And Luke Randall, he wasn't Eckler running kickoffs back by any means, but he got us a good field position. Yeah,
they're smart people. This is what competence looks like, and that's the thing, Scott. I really appreciate the call. Thank you. I don't want to confuse competence and greatness, and this is gonna take multiple years to figure out if this is great, but it sure as hell is at least competent. And I happen to think that these guys are really good. I think Adam Peters is probably great at his job. I think Dan Quinn is really, 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 really good. If continuing to grow into his second head coaching job, great at his job. Certainly as a culture setter, as a game manager, as a lot of stuff. I have really one big gripe with Dan, and it's fourth down decision making in terms of when to be aggressive and when not to be. And also, I swear, there is one situation. Now I'm complaining after Scott just got us all happy. So I'm sorry, but I just saw this in my notes in the break, and I need to say this. This should have been in 1st and 10. Ban 23-yard field goals. If you have a 23-yard field goal, aka it's 4th and goal from the 5, just go for it. Outside of a pick 6 or something super wacky, the worst thing that happens, the most likely bad thing that happens, is you don't get it and you give them the ball at their own 5-yard line. Trust your defense. It's going to be fine. Go for the touchdown. Worked out. And that's the thing. A lot of times this year when I've had disagreements with Dan Quinn, whether it could have been easier or not is the counterfactual that we'll never know. But against the Giants, against the Saints, against some of the other teams where he's, kicked some field goals that I probably wouldn't have kicked or done whatever, it's worked out. And, they have data and they have information that they're using and they've got smart people that are looking at that stuff. And, at the end of the day, you just kind of have to throw up your hands and be like, hey, what they did worked. They won. Winning is the point. And we, cool for winning. Let's go to Rock. Rock, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, what's up, man? I love your show, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I wanted to say just a little, I'm very happy for our team. We've exceeded expectations, but, we got to call out errors when we see it. On that 4th and 3, the last play of the game, we had 2 timeouts in our back pocket, and, our number one weakness is fatigue. I have no idea why we didn't call a timeout, and maybe if we did, Dan Quinn or somebody else could have alerted the game clock manager to potentially adjust. But even so, like, there's no point of not using. We did use a timeout before the 2-point, but you got to give our defense a chance to catch their breath, Bobby to, formulate a plan. Another thing I wanted to say is tonight, if the Falcons lose to the Raiders, we could actually clinch by beating Philly next week, which means we could rest our key players for 2 weeks or potentially catch Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to rest guys for 2 weeks. But I think that the timeout point on the goal line, thanks, Rock, for the call. I think that the and also, like, you can clinch if you beat Philly. Okay, I mean, that's a tough task. They're pretty freaking good. But sure. I think that the timeout on the goal line is fair. Once they get the ball spiked and now you're lining up and all that kind of stuff. But the clock thing, it wouldn't have mattered. They already ran the play. They were not going to undo that. Apparently, it is not reviewable. It's very, very stupid that it's not reviewable. New York should have been all over that, but alas, they're not allowed to, so they weren't. But I do think the timeout on the goal line, they obviously did it before the 2-point conversion, and I think doing it there could have been good. But you're also facing a rookie quarterback, and do you think that he's going to execute there? Maybe not, and you just kind of trust your defense. So I don't think that's an egregious one. I do like it before the 2-point conversion, yada, yada. Last but not least, let's go to RC. RC, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, Craig, thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
I want to know your opinion on a couple of things right now. The first one is, even though the kicker missed during the day, I think that Quinn should have kicked that ball inside the 10-yard line to give the Saints.
You're talking about at the end, punting instead of kicking the field goal?
Right. That one, Craig. And also, I noticed St. Juice has a problem with hands. His hands always up.
Yep.
You notice his hands not down. That's a problem. So I want to know your take on that right quick. I don't want to hold the line up.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, RC. I'm going to let you do the old hang up and listen bit because we're up against the clock as well. I mean, look, I think playing corner is a position where coming in for like one quick snap is hard. But Juice has had a problem with that when he's been a regular corner. Like, hands to the face is something that he gets a couple times a year, and his hands have constantly been too high. So it's actually one of his issues. And so, look, there's a reason that he got surpassed by Mike Sainer still. And now that Marshawn Lattimore's healthy, he became the rotational guy. And I will not be surprised if Benjamin St. Juice is inactive next week. Because if we can't trust you in a rotational role and Michael Davis is the better special teams player, why would you not have St. Juice be inactive and Davis be active? I was actually on some level, the more I thought about it, a little surprised. And especially considering his performance yesterday where he plays 3 snaps and picks up a key penalty on a 3rd down because he has bad technique. It is what it is. Like, I think my opinion on Benjamin St. Juice hasn't changed. He is an average, like, rotational corner, like number 2 type of guy that you will always be able to find better than. He's not the worst player in the league. He's not the worst corner in the league. He's not any of the he doesn't deserve the vitriol that he gets for a lot of stuff. But, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you that I've never said that he's awesome. Like, yesterday was bad. I can't do that. Silly penalty. And on the punt, Russell brought this up when we did the Take Command post game last night. Russell was our guest. If you want to check that out, it was a fun show. It's in the Take Command feed. And if you make the field goal, the game's over. And so I think you kind of just trust your guy. I mean, Greg Joseph, not the most accurate guy, does have a big leg. But also Spencer Rattler going 90 yards when you're already up 7. Limited timeouts. That's probably the right play. It's like the percentages. I'd have to see the analytics. And I frankly didn't have them in front of me. I'll see if I can find something in the break, like one of the 4th down bots that does that stuff. It's the Hoffman Show. On the Team 980. Sorry, I don't have a strong take. Either one I could justify. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And Michael Phillips is going to join us next. Maybe Phillips has strong opinions on these things. It's the Hoffman Show. We're always on the Team 980. We're not always on the Team 980. We're here 4 to 7. Let's not get greedy. I'm entitled to the other 21 hours of my day. When we're on the Team 980, we're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We also are streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. And on Mondays during football season, we are joined by our friend Michael Phillips for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Michael Phillips is, of course, the host of MP on the Mic, 10 a.m. to noon, 9:10 The Fan in Richmond, which you can also listen to live on the free Odyssey app. Michael, how are you on this barely victory Monday?
I'll take it. 9-5. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Look, Michael, you were on the beat for the Richmond Times-Dispatch for quite a long time. I was on the beat for a while. The last time that we saw 9 wins was 2015. That was my first season on the beat. You had started on the beat, 6-7 years or something prior? You'd only seen it one more time than me. This is worth pointing out that for as many things with the performance yesterday that we can squabble about, Kendrick Lamar squabble up, this is rare air that they're in right now.
Rare air. They're looking good to make the playoffs. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want people saying MP cost them a playoff berth, if they lose out or anything. But certainly if they win the Atlanta game they're in, and maybe even if they don't win that game, there's still plenty of paths in. That's a great spot to be in with 3 games to play and with Kirk Cousins, the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons as well, and the way he's playing, although that may not be the case after tonight's game, who's to say. The big thing, number 5 is playing well. You get a couple of those passes a little bit differently yesterday, and it's a 4-touchdown day for Terry McLaurin. The stars were being stars out there. We can get into the issues. There's plenty of issues for sure. I think the biggest picture issue I've got here is they've been sluggish off their 2 bye weeks, the mini bye going into the Dallas game and then this one. That's when you're supposed to be at your best, so that's kind of weird. Bright side, Craig, they don't have any of those the rest of the way. They're going to be playing football every week.
I was going to say, I don't think they're catching the Eagles or the Lions for the 1 seed. Nevertheless, all of the teams that would have to lose out in between, I don't even know if that's mathematically possible. No. Good news. No more bye weeks except for, oh my God, Michael, could you imagine going back to New Orleans for the Super Bowl? What are they going to do? You know what? I think the phrase we're looking for here, Michael, is we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Hey, we're not going to cross that bridge. It's like the toll bridge that costs like $9 that I don't go over because it costs $9. We don't cross that bridge, and that's okay. This is a playoff team. Marshawn Lattimore is the real deal. Adam Peters knows how to pick and develop players. Everything is pointing up for this franchise going forward, and I think that's the focus here for me. And sprinkle in a little bit of what was the ref thinking, stopping the clock with 9 seconds left. I got big issues about that go beyond the results of the game. Like the NFL owes its fans better as a product than that. But on the whole, I'm pleased with everything I'm seeing. I really am.
The NFL just needs to have we can review all BS rule. If something dumb happens in a game that we can easily correct from New York, then we're just going to do it. And there are no limitations on that. We're advanced enough with technology. The replays are fast enough. The communication is instant. Just get stuff right. That should be the modus operandi of the NFL when it comes to officiating. Get it right.
Yeah, you're a cerebral guy, Craig, so I know you'll appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael.
Don't let it go to your head.
Too late.
You're gigantically large. Big thinking head.
Hey, very normal cap size. Anyway, you were saying.
Find a new angle. They have the resources to do this. Make the refs full-time. Develop a VR product that helps them train. And this part-time nonsense. And this they officiate 17 games a year nonsense. The quarterbacks train every day on the headset. The officials should be as well. That's a minimal cost relative to what things cost to operate the National Football League.
Totally agree. Just spend the offseason doing film study. Do whatever you got to do.
Yes.
Sure, have some time off. Refresh, recharge. Just take your VR headset with you if it's going to be longer than, I don't know, a week. Okay. The other thing that I kind of wanted to just get your general vibe on for the game, and then I want to go into a couple specific decisions that were made, and some of them I have strong takes on, some not as much. I'm curious where you sit. But I kind of think, as you touched on in your opening remark there are two ways you can spin this game. That they are 2-3 plays away, including 2-3 calls, the roughing calls that were not, one of which should have been a hold in the end zone where Luvu was tackled. Like that should be a safety. Instead, it's a roughing on Washington. A couple of yards on some throws to Terry. Like they're so close. Greg Joseph just hits the field goal. There's no stress at the end. Like they are so close to winning this game comfortably, but they're also have no business being in a game late with the Saints where they're up 14-0 at halftime and it's 17-0 at one point during the game. So do you kind of take the optimist or pessimist view on the performance? Which version of the tale is more true to you?
Well, I think it's just a reminder of how thin the line is in the middle in the NFL, right? There are really good teams. There's certainly a few of them this year, and I think we all know who they are. There are a lot of really bad teams this year, and we certainly know who they are. Everybody else has a chance every week to win and to lose, and that's these guys. They're in the middle of the NFL. I think they're pointing in the right direction, but let's not forget where we are. They're not going to make the Super Bowl. They're just a good team that at any week is vulnerable. And I think I would cite Tyler Biadasz as example number one here, Craig. I can't quantify what effect Tyler Biadasz has on a football game. I just know what I see. And when that guy's not in there, number 5 gets running around and gets sacked a lot. Could it be the opponents he's facing in those games, their schemes? Sure. But it sure seems like Tyler Biadasz is a very important part of this team. And they just don't have depth, right? This for a lot of very good reasons that involve turning over an entire roster in the offseason. You can't build that depth overnight. And so when Biadasz goes out, things go a little bit more sideways. And when Austin Eckler goes out, things go a little bit more sideways. Everybody walks that fine line. But let's not forget, these guys are on that tightrope that is the NFL.
No, I think that's well put. Like the answer is that neither the optimist or the pessimist thing is false. It's like it's all true at once because that is the league, and you have to be on top of your details. And they're also so close. I'm just looking down at my notes. Like the first touchdown drive, which by the way, what a wacky drive that was. That thing took forever. I literally, Michael, I have a full 8.5 by 11. I've been using the mini notepads. Michael knows this because he sits next to me in the press box. I actually got some full-ass legal notepads, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not even going to count, but I am more than halfway down the page on the opening drive for the play-by-play of the tape. That's how many plays that opening drive was. And in part because they have the field goal wackiness, which was also correctly called terribly managed by the officials. Where they missed or they hit the field goal, take it off the board. They hadn't have a touchdown wiped off because Olamide Zaccheaus leaves early. It's called an illegal shift correctly. But it's like, dude, just hold your water and you walk in for a touchdown. What are you doing? They miss turning the ball over on that drive by fractions of an inch because Jayden Daniels runs and for some reason decides, as I'm laying on top of people and the whistles haven't blown yet, I'm just going to hold the ball out and it gets whacked away by the Honey Badger, and Brian Robinson or Jeremy McNichols falls on it, and the ball all of a sudden is back at that spot. I'm like, oh, that was a real fumble. And then they have a hold on Cosme, and then Jayden just creates magic and they score a touchdown anyway. All that wacky stuff happened. Imagine if that's a field goal, or that touchdown, being wiped off turns into a field goal, or that's a fumble and that's recovered by the Saints. Like there's the margins are so slim, and the game can change on any given play. And I think by the end of the year, like these things kind of even out, and teams' records are kind of what they're supposed to be. And the fact that the Commanders, if we take that theory, are 9-5, like that's pretty good.
And not only did all those things happen, but that created a small sample size game, right? In the first half, there just weren't a lot of drives, period. So we don't have a lot to break down. And we don't, you think about that Lions-Bills game yesterday, we probably had half as many drives, maybe less than that game did. So just it's a fundamentally different game to analyze when you get to it. There's a few points in the second half where you say, okay, it's going off the rails here, but there's not those moments where they were in a swoon for multiple drives and were lethargic and whatever you want to call it. It was largely just there weren't a lot of drives in this football game.
No, totally true. Michael Phillips, MP on the mic with us here on the Hoffman Show. Again, his show 10 a.m. to noon daily down on 910 The Fan in Richmond. Okay, so I mentioned there's a couple of calls that I wanted to go through with you to see if you had strong opinions, takes, feelings about them. First one is in the first half. No, maybe it's the second half because they didn't kick any field goals in the first half. Well, those that counted. There's the one that we talked about that got wiped off the board. But they have the 3rd and 1 call where that's been one of their best red zone plays, but I don't really like the call there. They just had 2 successful runs. They're missing their ability to go in 13 personnel. Noah Brown is also probably the guy who's usually doing what Luke McCaffrey tried to do. It fails. You can say what you want to about that if you have strong feelings. But I'm really more interested then it's 4th and 5 or 4th and goal from the 5, and they kick a 23-yard field goal. I am in favor of banning all 20-anything-yard field goals unless they are to win the game with no time left on the clock. How do you feel about Dan Quinn's decision-making in that 3rd down, 4th down sequence?
Yeah, I'll start with the 3rd down. Stop trying to make Luke McCaffrey happen. Luke McCaffrey's not going to happen. That's fine. Maybe he'll be good next year. He's not ready this year. Everybody wanted him to be ready when Noah Brown got hurt. He's not ready. That's okay. That doesn't mean he'll never be good. There's a million examples you can point to. I always used to use Morgan Moses as the example. He was bad his rookie year, and then he was good the second year. These things happen, and so I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying stop trying to make Luke McCaffrey happen. I agree with you. 4th and goal from the 5, there is no ambiguity there. You go for that, especially when you have number 5 on your team, especially when he does the things he can do running the ball. His running yesterday was on point, and that just transforms football games. And certainly what he did on the Terry throw where he was dancing around for 8 seconds, all of those things add up to say, let's let the kid be special. The kid is special. Let's give him the moments to be special in because he sure seems to rise to them far more often than he doesn't. And then, of course, the end of the game 1, I got 0 problems with asking your kicker to make a 54-yard field goal indoors. NFL kickers should be expected to make 54-yard field goals. That always bugged me about the Austin Seibert discourse is like, hey, he's automatic from inside 50, so we got to just deal with this. Like, no, you don't. There are kickers who can make 50-yard field goals in the NFL. Try to find one of them because I would like to have one of those on this football team when it is a legitimate contender down the line.
So you're saying that you agree with the field goal go there versus the punt, pin them inside the 10, make Spencer Rattler go 90 yards with 1 timeout. Because that's the one where I could be convinced either way on that one.
Yeah, I get it either way, but make it a 2-score game. Figure out if you got a kicker or not. You're not going to have this luxury forever.
No. See, that's where I don't. That's not the time to figure out if you got a kicker. I know I got Tress Way, and we can figure out the kicker thing later. We need to win, Michael, because the playoff odds shift too tremendously if we lose. If I think the better play is punt there, I'm not like, I don't know. Let's see if he can do it.
In 2 years, I hope that kick is to win an NFC title, right? In 2 years, I hope that kick is for home field in the playoffs and hosting a game that matters in January at FedEx Field. I need a kicker who can make it in that moment. And I love you can put laps on the line and whatever you got, in the off season to simulate pressure on a guy. I need to know in that moment 2 years from now, is he going to make that kick or not? And I don't mind using this to find out because you're not going to get that luxury forever because the next time he has that kick, it might mean something.
I mean, it meant something yesterday, though. And also, that dude's not kicking next week. They already committed to Zane Gonzalez.
Which is its own wacky, man. In Adam Peters, I trust. I did not come on your radio program today to utter a bad word about Adam Peters, but I don't get this kicker situation, man.
But the thing is, I think when you look around the league, none of them are good. Who are they supposed to sign? The kid who's going to hit the kick that you're talking about to win an NFC championship game, I hope is a junior at Boise State right now or something like that. Or a senior. They can draft him this year. That would be great. Let's get him a couple years of experience. But it has been a bizarre year for kickers around the league. And if none of the ones that have been good forever that are on teams locked into long-term contracts are any good, I don't expect there to be a good one just floating around la-di-da on the street somewhere.
It's a wacky game. 54-yarder indoors. If you're an NFL kicker starting on an NFL team, you should be able to make that. I think there's 32 guys in the world who get to be NFL kickers each week. I think there's 32 guys in the world who can make that kick. If you suited him up, you got to have faith that he's going to make that kick in that moment. It's a big spot in the game, sure. But I'm also not letting the defense off the hook, man. They got porous there at the end. That was a bit of a disappointment as well.
Yeah, so that's where I was going to go next to wrap up with you here. Michael Phillips, host, MP on the mic, 10 a.m. to noon on 910 The Fan down in Richmond. This, of course, the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980. Like, the defense pitches another first-half shutout. They've probably got like 4 or 5 of those, it feels like, on the season. Yet again, they collapse down the stretch. Some of the times they've collapsed down the stretch, you're like, yeah, the offense screwed them over. They were hung out forever. Defense was on the field for less than 20 minutes in this game. So what do we make of their inability to get stops down the stretch?
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Because on the whole, I got nice things to say about the addition of Marshawn Lattimore. That's kind of its own subplot, by the way. I don't know if we have time to get into that, but like they didn't shuffle anybody. You and I were talking last week about what would they do. What they did was just told St. Juice to go sit on the bench. That's
by the way,
its own.
I'll put $2 down on him being inactive next week in favor of Michael Davis. If you're not going to play well in the 3 snaps we need you, and you're worse on special teams, why are we playing you? Michael Davis is the better special teams player.
And somehow gets a penalty in those 3 snaps.
Yeah.
I mean, oof.
Yikes, boy.
That's a rough day at the office down there in New Orleans. It's on the line too, which I tell you is largely a strength here. I've enjoyed what I've seen of their work so far this year. Deron Payne was playing. I think Dorrance Armstrong has been good. I think Frankie Louvu comes up and brings a physical dimension. I'd welcome any theories you've got because I don't view that as a weakness or like, oh, man, they overachieved in the first portion of the game. Like, I think that's actually one of the better, more solidly constructed parts of the team, and they just disappear when it matters.
Here's my theory, Michael. If the quarterback throws you the ball, you should catch it.
I don't know. I'm a big, I love the analytics, the new thought processes, and a lot of people a lot smarter than me say, turnovers are luck, right? If you finish the league bad in takeaways one year, you're going to get them the next year. Statistically speaking, it's going to even out. But have they watched the 2024 Washington Commanders? Because it sure feels like that's not luck. That's just complete inability to cash in when you are offered a free football.
Yeah, and I would say it works both ways, right? Like, one, they're good at creating turnover opportunities. Something that Dan Quinn has been good at and Joe Witt has been good at for as long as they've been in the league. And these Thursday pressers are becoming hilarious for Joe because he is trying so hard when the turnover thing comes up to not blow a gasket because he is so fed up with dudes who cannot catch the football. But like Frankie Louvu drops a ball. Jeremy Chin, and I'm trying to remember who the other DB was on that play, but Chin, it just goes right through his hands. But those guys are right there, and it somehow winds up in an MVS big play. Like, there's multiple times in the game where you have opportunities and you don't finish, and that's the end of the drive. Like, that's why turnovers are so devastating. Like, as an offense, you're just screwed. It's over. You can't do anything. And so, if you take a sack, like, there's a chance to overcome it. There's no overcoming a turnover unless your defense goes and returns the favor. And so in the second half, if they catch the couple balls that are thrown at them, and I think Joe said in the last month there's been 12 of those, 12 drops by his defense, then it's just a different game. And so, yeah, it's pretty rough.
12 doesn't feel like luck. Missing 12 of them sure doesn't feel like they're unlucky.
It feels like guys with bad ball skills. And by the way, the one dude who's catching them every couple of weeks is the guy who used to play wide receiver in college.
But also, Chin's a defensive back. He should be able to do this. Like, if Deron Payne misses an interception, I promise you I will be kinder to him than if Jeremy Chin misses one.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Sanders still is the only guy that seems to be able to catch, and he played wide receiver at Michigan.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He is pretty good, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow. Okay, Michael Phillips, everybody. If you want more from him, I'm sorry the segment's over, but he's got a 2-hour radio show tomorrow, and another one the day after that, and another one the day after that, and then eventually it'll be Friday, and then we'll give him Saturday and Sunday off, and I'll do it again next week. It's 10 a.m. to noon. You can listen to it on the Odyssey app. MP on the mic down at our sister station in Richmond, 910 The Fan. Michael, as always, thank you, sir, and we'll talk to you next Monday after the Philly game.
You will. You will not see me this week. I'm announcing that now. I will be at the Falcons game, though, so I will see you in person in 2 weeks.
Excellent. It's weird that Philly is missing the Philly game, but we can figure that out later.
But Philly went to Philly for the Philly game, so and that was a longer drive. So I'm not making my best decisions in life here.
Yeah, well, bad decisions come for us all. All right, see you, Philly.
Take care.
That's Michael Phillips. We call him Philly sometimes here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, speaking of bad decisions, how did our picks go? We go around the NFL. How did we do on the picks? And, of course, analysis of every game. And, boy, were there some good ones this weekend. That's next on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. And if you're watching there, by the way, you see this is the official, can I back up far enough, Take Command t-shirt, which you can get online at the Breaking T 1067 The Fan store. Just go there and check it out. And if you want a discount on this shirt, you can go to hoffmanshow.com/survey if you are a fan of Take Command. I'm just going to assume that if you want the shirt, it's because you also listen to the actual podcast that I do with Logan, not just for kicks and giggles. But assuming that you do, we would love your feedback on not the shirt, but the show. And you can go to hoffmanshow.com/survey and fill that out, and you get a nice, I believe it's 50% discount on the merch for the Take Command shirt. So help us out. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And get a sweet new shirt. Maybe it's a stocking stuffer. Get one for you and one for someone else. There you go, Anthony. Are you gonna get a Take Command stocking stuffer t-shirt? Maybe a hoodie?
I could definitely use a hoodie.
Okay. I could get you a Take Command hoodie for Christmas. Feels a little self-serving to make you my human billboard, but you know.
I would look forward to it.
Okay.
I'm actually cold right now.
Oh, well, the thermostat is on your side of the studio, sir.
Yeah, I adjusted it, but, you know.
Hasn't kicked in yet?
Nah.
Ah, I see. All right, 5:30 on a Monday. It's time to go through each and every game of the NFL weekend, some in more depth than others because, well, frankly, some deserve a little more depth than others. But that's just where we are. Again, tonight's Bears, Vikings, Falcons, Raiders doubleheader on Monday night. Really, neither of them are that much. I mean, Vikings, Bears is kind of fun. Falcons, Raiders, just let me know who wins by the end. We picked those games last week. I think we're both on the Falcons and both on the Vikings.
I'm Falcons and you are Falcons as well. And Vikings.
Yeah, okay. All right. Chiefs and Browns. This game is worth talking about because not necessarily what happened in it, but because Patrick Mahomes didn't finish it. This is a really, really bad situation for the Chiefs from a schedule standpoint. Luckily, with where they are in the standings, they're 13-1, the whole deal. Like, okay, they're probably going to be fine. I mean, they're still going to win their division. They're still, okay for the wild card, although there's some teams that are going to try to threaten. And one of those, by the way, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, potentially, if they can beat the Ravens on Saturday, and then they have a head-to-head with the Chiefs on Wednesday, on Christmas, on the Netflix game. And sorry to the Netflix the Netflix executives, Anthony. They might have paid $1 billion for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that they didn't have that on their bingo card when they chose that game.
No. Now, Mahomes has notoriously been able to play through a bunch of stuff and play extremely well. He seemingly always has an ankle sprain at the end of the year, hobbles around, wins some games by black magic, and then all of a sudden by the Super Bowl, he's running around full speed and winning the thing. So we'll see. This was kind of a wacky game for Mahomes in general. 19 of 38. For 159. Average 4.2 yards per attempt, but 2 touchdowns, no picks. And meanwhile, on the other side, 4 picks for the Browns. Was Jameis benched at the end of this one? Because he threw 3 picks?
He was indeed.
Yeah,
and then Dorian came in and threw 1 as well.
Yeah, I see that part of it. But I was like, he didn't get hurt, I don't think. I just think he was terrible.
Yeah.
Jameis's QBR yesterday?
13.
No. His rating was a 40. DTR's rating was a 12. Was that a guess for you?
Yeah, that was a guess.
Oh, okay. It was worse than 13. It was 3.6.
Dang, I gave him too much credit.
Sure did. It wasn't the worst QBR on the day because I happen to know Sam Howell had a 3.4.
Ooh. Was Sam's the worst? I don't know. His was the worst.
I don't know. I thought Howell's had to be one of the 5 worst, QBR numbers in like the last 5 years. But then again, I don't even know if it was top 5 on the day Saturday, if that's how bad Jameis's was.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Meanwhile, on the rushing side of things, Jerome Ford had a nice little day, thanks in part to a 62-yard run. Chiefs able to run for 132 yards as a team. They spread the ball around a ton, but ultimately the Chiefs get what they need to do done. 21-7 is the final. Bengals let the Titans hang around for way too long, but their potent offense strikes again, and Will Levis also strikes again in his own special way. He was benched after oh my God.
I told you, man. Bad.
The QBR number.
1.
Anthony, he had a 1.1 QBR.
I told you, man. It was bad.
I knew it was bad. Oh, my God.
And he was throwing pick sixes, though, Craig.
8 of 12 for 89 yards and 3 picks before being benched for Mason Rudolph, who came in and had a nice day, 21 of 26, 2 touchdowns, but he also had a pick. They couldn't run the ball very well either. Meanwhile, Cincinnati had a nice little day on the ground, rushed for 100 yards on 26 carries. Burrow, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks himself. Jamar Chase, 9 for 94 in his continued quest for the Triple Crown. Ravens, 35. Giants, 14. Tommy DeVito knocked out of the game. Anthony, do you know who came in and finished the game for the Giants?
Drew Lock.
No.
All right, hold on. If it wasn't Drew Lock and you said it wasn't Tommy DeVito.
Tim Boyle is who we're looking for. That's enough time.
Oh, my
That's enough time spent on that game. The Ravens, again, were 16-point favorites. They covered by 5. The Carolina Panthers were favored for the first time in 3 years. Whoops. Cooper Rush threw for 3 touchdowns. Bryce Young, a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. And the thing is, man, I thought Carolina was going to win this game because they could dominate on the ground. They fell behind in that third quarter and just had to abandon the run. And they weren't really effective when they did run it. Chuba Hubbard, 10 carries, 32 yards, just not enough for Carolina. So CD, 9 for 116, a touchdown. We tried, Panthers. We tried.
They put their best foot forward, Craig. That's all you can ask for.
They did. I believe that's the first loss that we have on the weekend.
Not we, you.
Oh, you picked the Cowboys?
Yes.
Damn.
How about them Cowboys?
I also picked the Jags.
Yes, you did.
And Jags hung around. Mac Jones dancing around, damn near threw for 300 yards. But Aaron Rodgers actually almost also threw for 300 yards. Not like he was awesome. I mean, he's 16 of 30. That's not great. But he did have 3 touchdowns. And, man, Devontae Adams can still ball. 9 for 198 and 2 touchdowns. He had a 71-yarder in this game as well. By the way, Brian Thomas Jr. is a monster for Jacksonville. 10 catches, 105, 2 touchdowns for Jayden Daniels, former LSU teammate. He's like right up there with Malik Neighbors in this class. Like, it is grotesque how good he has been. It made Mac Jones look competent. A problem is Mac also threw 2 picks, and the Jets are able to actually get a win. These 2 teams are 4-10 and 3-11.
Bad stuff.
Yeah. So it's 4-2 for me. Anthony, are you ahead all of a sudden?
I'm 6-0 right now.
You're 6-0?
But not for long.
Not for long.
No.
All right. Texans, Dolphins. Yikes for Tua in this game. He was not good. They also lost Jalen Waddle to a pretty nasty-looking injury. Tyreek limited to just 2 catches on 7 targets. Derek Stingley Jr., a.k.a. The Truth. Meanwhile, Houston offensively didn't really do a whole lot, but did enough to win. CJ only threw for 131 yards, but 2 touchdowns, no picks, stayed clean. They rushed for 77 yards. I mean, hey, man, if you get good field position, you're able to take advantage of some turnovers, do the things that you need to do, and Stingley's got 2 picks in this one, then you can win football games, and that's what happened. Tua picked off 3 times.
Yeah, it was bad. Also, Waddle going down, I definitely think affected their offense. I didn't know Stingley was going to be able to do that to Tyreek, though. Did you see his the second interception?
Is that the one down the sideline where he ran with him?
That was insane. Yeah. Insane.
Like running with Tyreek Hill is a different beast. Speaking of a different beast, man, Pat Surtain. Whew. The Colts, your boys, Anthony. They came out like this game really was their season. They came out firing. They came out playing well. They had the Broncos a bit on the ropes, and Jonathan Taylor is running in for a touchdown, and he dropped the ball at the 1-yard line, and things just absolutely fell apart.
Literally.
Bo Nix had 3 picks, but he comes back and throws 3 touchdowns, and in the fourth quarter, 21-0. It's a 24-0 shutout in the second half. Richardson really struggled with his accuracy again. 17 for 38, 172, 2 picks. Also, their receivers, though, like more drops. Like, it's not all on Richardson. But the thing is, Anthony, I was listening to the Athletic Football Show's preview of this game, and they were like, look, Denver's defense demands at a very, very high level of precision in their passing game on offense. Like, if you want to beat them, you have to be precise. And while there's some potency, while there is some pop, some power, some juice to Indy's offense with the big plays, precision's not their game. And boy, did that show up yesterday.
Yeah, the thing is, like, even in the first quarter when Anthony looked good, he was squeezing his passer through some tight windows. And it's just like, whoa, how did he get that in there? And then, in the third and fourth quarter, those same throws end up being interceptions. But I think the game really shifted when Jonathan Taylor dropped the ball at the 1-yard line. Like, it really did. It changed how the coach had to play the
How do dudes keep doing this?
I don't know, man. That hurt. That hurt. I'm not gonna lie, Craig.
I would show, if I was a head coach, I would show that every single week.
So bad.
Because it happened multiple times this weekend.
Oh yeah, it happened in the Bengals-Titans game.
Yeah, dude went to switch hands as he was crossing the goal line, fumbled it out of bounds. Yikes, man. Brutal. All right, that's the early window of games. Late window, oh my God. Bills-Lions, the Bills just nonstop playing games of the year. Steelers-Eagles, that was interesting for different reasons. And then, did you guys see what the Bucs did? We'll get to all of that next on the Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show. We're continuing our trip around the NFL. Our pick 6 at 6, back to the Commanders and Saints coming up at 6 o'clock. Anthony, where do we sit records-wise as we get to the afternoon window?
Sir,
picks?
we are at I'm 6-2, and you're 5-3.
Okay, so let's see if you can survive the afternoon window ahead.
And you already know I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I did.
I actually didn't know that. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I was just saying, let's see. Bills and Lions, game of the day. Oh my goodness. I think that the biggest talking point from the game is, in terms of the turning point, is Dan Campbell's decision to kick the onside kick with 12 minutes to go. It seems crazy. It probably is crazy. The only way I could justify it is if you just think that Josh Allen is going to score on you no matter what, there's some merit to just get it over with quickly and get your offense back on the field. But also, you're going to have to get a stop eventually. You're down 10. Just kick the ball deep. And so, kind of a wacky bit from Dan Campbell there, unless he was really... I mean, Dan Campbell's the guy that just is like, oh, yeah, we did this onside kick in practice. I feel confident. And he's just ignoring all the fact that, they never work in the modern NFL. So, if you got to do it, you got to do it. They didn't have to do it there. And they wind up losing by 6. But the fact that their offense is in position to do that is crazy. The Montgomery injury is huge. But kind of what I thought would happen in this game happened in this game, Anthony. The offense for Detroit was going to be awesome, but the fact that they were missing a million dudes on defense against Josh Allen with the heater that he's on was just too much to overcome. Allen, 4 more touchdowns, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground. Jared Goff, 494 yards and 5 touchdowns through the air. Just a wild, wacky game that had a little bit of everything, and wacky coaching decisions, crazy statistics, just a hell of a football game.
Yeah, it definitely was a hell of a game. And I came across a stat that said the Lions have won a game where I can't even think of his name. Jared Goff has thrown 5 interceptions, and they've lost a game where he's thrown 5 touchdowns, which is an insane stat in itself. But I think that game delivered. Like, it's what everybody wanted. We wanted a shootout. We wanted to see how these two offenses stacked up against one another, and that's what we got. And again, because I picked against Josh Allen and the Bills, hashtag go Bills.
Hashtag go Bills. I'm a little scared that this is the game. Well, scared, but I don't know. They play the Patriots this week. I don't think they're going to lose. I do think this is the game where they come back down to earth a little bit because it's a division game, and they've played so well the last week. They almost scored 100 points in 2 weeks.
But why they flex it to 425 against the Patriots?
I don't know, Anthony.
Vegas must know something, Craig.
Silly NFL things.
Yeah.
All right. Pennsylvania State Championship game. Eagles 27, Steelers 13. I thought the Eagles would be the better team here. Once it was clear that George Pickens was not going to play, the Steelers didn't have a chance. This is an offense built on being able to stretch the ball vertically down the field, and until Pickens comes back, they don't have anybody that has any vertical speed. And you see it because Russell Wilson's average yards per attempt is suddenly 5.8, where Jalen Hurts is 9.1, throwing his stuff down the field to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Those two combined for 19 catches, 219 yards, and 2 touchdowns of the 290 yards and 2 touchdowns that Jalen Hurts threw for. Saquon actually had a contained day, 19 carries for 65. Hurts, 15 carries, 45 yards, which is, a lot of carries for a quarterback against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But a lot of those were designed runs, and they just kept on going it. But they really just took advantage of the Steelers' man-to-man defense because at the end of the day, the Eagles' men are better than everyone else's men, and that's the difference in the ballgame.
Yeah, definitely. Jalen Hurts going out there, dicing the Pittsburgh Steelers defense up. I didn't necessarily see that before the game, but at the same token, I should have known A.J. Brown was going to have a huge game. Devontae Smith was going to go out there and wreak havoc. And it's scary when, the Eagles can beat you both ways. They can beat you grounding and pounding, or if Jalen Hurts can, be as consistent and efficient as he was yesterday, they're going to be tough to beat through the air as well.
I'm very curious to see this Commanders-Eagles rematch. Like, I thought the Commanders did a pretty good job fighting the first time through, but Jaylen was also bad. And I do think also the Commanders' offense has evolved since that first matchup, where they're moving Terry around a lot more, in part because of what Vic Fangio's defense did to them. And Jayden, outside of against the Eagles, has been very, very good against zone coverage this year and pretty rough against man-to-man, or rougher against man-to-man. Everything's relative. And the Eagles are going to do what they do. And can you find ways to poke holes in it? Some other teams have in the last couple of weeks, but Pittsburgh obviously really struggled. So I think this is going to be a pretty fascinating rematch. I'm obviously hoping Washington can pull off the upset at Northwest Stadium this coming Sunday. Commanders and Eagles will have coverage all week long. Patriots and Cardinals. Cardinals 30, Patriots 17. Kyler Murray, 23 of 30, 244 yards, and a big monster day for James Conner, 16 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. This game was floating through red zone, and I heard a wild stat, Anthony. So on this season, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, regular season. Okay. Trey McBride has 89 catches for 938 yards. The tight end for the Cardinals.
Yeah, no touchdown.
I was going to say, do you know how many touchdowns he has?
He has no touchdowns.
Crazy.
He does all his work between the 20s, Craig.
Clearly. If I am Drew Petzing, their offensive coordinator, I'm finding a way to get that man a touchdown.
Yeah.
We have to get him in the end zone. Baker Mayfield, he found dudes in the end zone. 40-17. What? 27-0 in the second half. Buccaneers over the Chargers. The Chargers are supposed to be the best scoring defense in the NFL. Yesterday, they were not. Mike Evans, do you know who I am? Do you remember who I am? Yes, Mike, we do. 9 for 159, 2 touchdowns. Baker, 288, only had 5 incompletions, 4 touchdowns. I guess he had 4 incompletions and an interception. But 4 passes not complete to his guys, or 5 not complete to his guys, 4 touchdowns. It's a monster day for this Tampa offense.
Is the world better when Baker Mayfield's cooking like this, man?
Yes.
I love it.
I picked them in that game, right?
Yeah, we both did.
Which is hilarious because I did not pick them on the First Impression Selection Show last Monday. I missed that game. And I could have gotten the Bucs with points. But I was like, I think by Friday I convinced myself that was going to happen. And boy, did it. And then last night, hey, old friend, Sam Howell was back. Sam Howell put up a quarterback rating of 3.3. He was sacked 4 times. 4 times playing a quarter and a half. I don't know if Sam Howell would have ever been good in any situation. I would have liked to see Sam Howell's career not start with what Eric Bieniemy did to him last year. That said, this game is much more about the Packers and what they were able to do. Jordan Love, cool, calm, efficient, 20 of 27, 2 touchdowns on the day. Josh Jacobs, almost 100 yards rushing, 140 yards rushing total for the Packers. They continue to keep pace. Had they lost, they would have been tied with Washington for the 6th seed. Instead, they stay, ahead. Seahawks now drop to 8-6, and battle is on for the NFC West.
Yeah, Sam Howell, man. A lot of what we saw last year still, happening this year. Holding on to the ball too long, stepping up into the pressure. But the Packers, man, Josh Jacobs, he had himself a hell of a first half. And then, from there, it's just game managing for Jordan Love. And when he takes care of the ball, they are really hard to beat. So shout out to those guys.
Shout out to those guys. All right, we got 2 games left tonight, the 2 Monday Nighters. Anthony, what are our records going into that on the week?
11-3, both of us.
And we're on the same. So we're either going to finish – we're going to finish with the same record.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't really make up any ground because you just do such a good job of, picking games, and I'm always, behind on the A-ball a little bit anyway, so.
You just got to avoid the bad week. You've avoided the disaster week this year.
I know.
Unfortunately
Hold
for
on,
you.
let me knock on wood.
So have I. Same. We'll see. Next round of pick reveals is Wednesday, Competition Wednesday. The Rooster, by the way, has offered to keep his sweater available for punishment.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, so the rooster sweater is going to go on the. I think that the costume show is now the rooster sweater.
Okay.
So we will see how we did on our competition Wednesday picks. On Wednesday, those are the games that we pick against the spread. Very, very funny. Oh, Anthony, next week is Christmas. Shoot. All right, we'll have to do competition Wednesday another day next week because we're not working on Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Would be pretty funny. Live YouTube show on Christmas. Anthony's out there in his Santa outfit.
I don't know what I'm dressing up for Christmas as this year.
Is that a thing you do? Dress up for Christmas? I thought you just wear like really nice clothes.
So 2 years ago, I dressed up as the Grinch. My brother was Santa Claus. Last year, I think I just had PJs. This year, I'm getting a Christmas sweater.
What if it's the rooster Christmas sweater because you lost the competition Wednesday? That would actually be a really funny bit if you had to wear the rooster sweater, which is Chris Russell sized.
Exactly.
To your family Christmas. That doesn't feel fair.
No, I would dress it up though, Craig. I would probably go
You make
in there.
it work.
Yeah, I would definitely
You're
make
a
it work.
stylish man.
Yes.
You're a stylish man.
Yes.
All right, when we get back here on the Hoffman Show, we picked 6 players on Friday that we thought would have a big impact in Commanders versus Saints. Let's look at the Commanders' win over New Orleans through the lens of those 6 players. Our pick 6 is next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. Our final hour here on this Victory Monday, a Victory Monday that it started off with First and 10, which you can listen to in the Hoffman Show podcast feed if you missed it or using the Rewind app, or Rewind feature on the Odyssey app. Too many things, Anthony. Too many things. Too much game management. You know what? Let's just get to it. It's 6 o'clock. It's time for the Pick Six.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick Six at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
On Friday, we picked 6 players who we thought would be most important to the outcome of Commanders and Saints. Jayden Daniels and the quarterbacks for the Saints were excluded because we just take that off the board. It's too easy. And Anthony had the number 1 pick.
Number 1.
And picked Brandon Coleman. Anthony, Brandon Coleman.
Yes, I chose Brandon Coleman in part to him being matched up with Chase Young. So I guess I can use this time to maybe talk about Chase Young's day. And I think when you have 2 sacks on the day, I think you had a solid outing. He also had a lot of pressures as well. He helped Cam Jordan also get one of his sacks in the game. But for the most part, I think Brandon Coleman played solid. I think he gave up 1 sack. I wouldn't say he gave up 2. I think one of them was a cover sack. But I don't know. The O-line struggled all day, to be honest. So, it was a mixed bag, I would say.
Yeah, mixed bag is nice. I don't think
Is that too generous?
I don't think Coleman had a very good game. Hilariously, they only give Chase Young on PFF 64 pass rush grade, and they credit him with 3 pressures and 2 sacks, 1 hurry as well. Chase was Chase. He was a guy that got upfield, was really aggressive. Mm-hmm. He allows Jayden Daniels to get some of his biggest scrambles because he can't be bothered to just stay in his freaking lane. Occasionally that works. And even on one of the sacks, it works because Jayden, instead of stepping up, tries to escape out of the back of the pocket. And Chase is sitting there waiting on him. So I don't really know what Jayden was doing on that particular one. Jayden's avoidance of pressure, I would say, is a mixed bag. Coleman in the run game just missed a lot. And I think he mostly went to the right guy. Blocking them successfully was a different deal. I don't think the O-line, they missed Biotish terribly. And it's kind of wild just to watch everyone else struggle without him out there. They're not as confident. And Cosme was really bad. So Coleman, I've got his name written down on 2 of the 8 sacks, that he's at least a significant part. But also, one of them, the second to last sack, the 7th sack, Jayden should have thrown the ball. That's not even a coverage sack. It's a quarterback sack. He's staring right. He reads the other side of the field. There's a 3 receiver side and a 2 receiver side. Uh-huh. He reads the 2 receiver side, and Olamide Zaccheaus has a choice route, and he breaks it off inside, and he wins, and it's just hey, man, throw it. He's wide open. It might have been a slant. I don't even know if it was a choice. It might have been set up to come inside all along. Either way, he's wide open. Throw him the ball. You're staring right at him. 2, if you had read the 3 receiver slide, De'Ami Brown is wide open for a touchdown. It's a corner route, and he's butt naked. But alas, that's how it goes sometimes. And Coleman grades out at 56 on PFF. So not very good. I feel like that's pretty accurate. But the pass block grade is a 75. Run block grade's a 53. I think he was definitely worse in the run game than he was in the pass game. But definitely someone who I think was pretty interesting to watch throughout the day.
Number 2.
Brian Robinson had an interesting day as well. I actually think B-Rob played really well. The problem is he had terrible looks to run into. Logan and I were exchanging film clips this morning, and when Logan sends me, when I send Logan clips, I just screen record and send him actual film. He's got his iPad in front of him and records it and is circling stuff for me. And there's a couple where he just goes, "Where's he supposed to go?" And sometimes there's a couple "Where's he supposed to go" carries where B-Rob gets 5. Brian Robinson, his rushing grade on PFF is a 58.3. I think that's a travesty of a grade because he had terrible looks to run into all day, and he made terrible into just bad. And that hidden yardage helps you in a major way. So, yeah, B-Rob wasn't amazing. I think there's a couple runs where he leaves some stuff out there. That's playing running back in the league. But mostly I think the failure in the running game yesterday was much more on the offensive line than it was on B-Rob. And it would have been a lot worse had a running back not named Brian Robinson been the guy who was toting the rock.
No, I think that was perfect.
All right.
Number 3,
Anthony, you had Bobby Wagner as your second pick, number 3 for us overall.
Yeah, I mean, before Kamara, I guess, exits the game due to the groin injury, I think we did a good job of, keeping him in check, to be honest. We didn't let him get off too much, and that was my big focal point anyway on Friday. Just, trying to make sure he doesn't, beat us because he is their only offense, essentially. And I think we did a good job the first half. Second half, I think we had a few breaks, actually. I know he broke one down the middle of the field, and then also the touchdown catch. Insane. That was on Luvu. But yeah, I mean, I can't really assess Bobby's play just because I don't feel like there were that many drives where, he was having too big of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, he had the big sack, so like he has an impact as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
The tight ends, didn't have huge days. They had a couple of catches. I'm gonna have to go back and watch those to see kind of who that was on. I think all in all, the defense played pretty well. Like they were well organized, and they just gave up a couple of plays later in the game that were less than ideal. And some of those might have been plays over Bobby Wagner's head, considering where they were on the field. But against the run, I thought they were pretty stout, and they overall did a good job. I haven't watched the defensive tape yet, so I don't have super strong feelings here yet. But come back tomorrow, and I will have had super strong feelings based off of actually, watching the tape. All right, we'll get to Marshawn Lattimore. You don't necessarily need the tape to see how good he was yesterday. De'Ami Brown, and we'll talk about the kicking game in the back half of our Pick 6. Well, let's get back to your calls at 6:30. It's Tell the Truth Monday on the Hoffman Show. But first, let's get an update on the latest in the world of women's sports presented by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna at Wawa with customizable crispy or roasted chicken sandwiches. In 10 minutes, your calls, 301-230-0980. On a Tell the Truth Monday, it's also Victory Monday here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we are in the middle of our Pick 6 at 6, where we take a look at the 6 players that we chose on Friday that we thought would be the most impactful in Sunday's game and see how they ultimately did.
Number 4.
Marshon Lattimore is the 4th player that we had circled, and he definitely played really, really well. Grades out as a 71 on PFF. He was targeted, Anthony, 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the Saints knew what they were dealing with, and we're like, nah, we're good on that. That is tremendous consistency. It's hard not to have any kind of lapses, but it does feel also like the game plan was just purely avoid that guy. Obviously, the big test comes this Sunday because he's going to probably, if I am Washington, I probably have him follow A.J. Brown around.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they'll mix man and zone, so they're not just going to go straight man-to-man and then follow, shadow the entire day, because when you're playing zone, yeah, you can still just put him on whatever side, but typically you then just say, hey, either one. But yesterday, I feel like he played a little bit on both sides. He traveled around a little bit. So I think it's going to be fun to watch how they continue to deploy him, but very clear that it made an impact. You saw a couple different blitz packages yesterday as well. I told you that some of the safety blitz stuff might be a little bit more on. I can think of at least one play where Chin comes flying off the edge, and he blitzed a little bit more. I don't know that we've seen the Quan Martin blitz unloaded. I'll have to go back and obviously watch it. But all in all, successful debut, to say the least, in his old stomping grounds for Marshon Lattimore.
Yeah, the fact he got 0 targets, man, he earned some respect while he was down in New Orleans. They know it. And I wouldn't throw at him at all.
Well, the thing is, this is why having Sainer still opposite is so important, because he has actual ball skills. If you're going to throw at Mike Sainer still, you're risking getting picked off. And that doesn't seem to be the thing that is possible for any other Commanders defensive back. None of them can seem to catch. The linebackers don't seem to be able to catch. But I do also think that Noah Igbenogany is in for a long month. He is going to be targeted a lot. Yeah. A lot. And he was yesterday. Made some plays, led up some plays. It's going to be interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks. But we also know that, obviously for the Eagles game specifically, their top 2 guys are their top 2 guys. They are not going to be messing around with Jahan Dotson or whoever else is playing slot for them these days, just for the sake of it, for targeting Noah Igbenogany. But what happens if one of those guys lines up in the slot? I think that is something that is worth keeping an eye on.
Number 5.
All right, Anthony's last pick, number 5 in our pick 6 at 6, was Dyami Brown, Anthony. Dyami Brown.
Yeah, I had Dyami Brown. I chose him because I felt as though he was going to be the receiver that steps up. And I think he had some pretty good plays. He finished the day, 3 catches, 30 yards. He also had a huge 3rd down conversion, or it might have been 2nd down, get called back because of holding on the offensive line.
Correct.
So Dyami definitely showed up, and I think that's all we can ask for him. Just be consistent. When your number's called, go out there and make the plays that you're supposed to make, and he did that yesterday. So I mean, we'll see how the wide receiver 2 battle continues. It seems as though they were trying a whole bunch of guys. They had JC out there. They had Dyami, of course. They had Zacchaeus, and they spread the ball around to all 3 of those guys. So somebody's got to go out there and make more plays than the other, I guess.
I think Crowder showed a real ability to win quickly,
which
is really important. They don't have anybody with his level of quickness, and I think that's why in some key spots he got some looks. I mean, Luke is – you see signs with Luke. It's just, can he put anything together now? I think you saw a lot – OZ's best game in a while. I mean, he should have had a touchdown. He left early. That was very silly. And I don't know whether – I'm guessing that's on him versus on Dyami, I think, was the motion guy on that, the first motion guy to get set. But if that's on Diami, then it's actually on Jayden for snapping it too early. But I think OZ just straight up left early.
He was leaning, yeah.
Yeah, he was leaning. He couldn't hold it. He's like, I'm going to try to go. And they could have called a false start, or they just, let the play out. It's a legal shift. Two guys moving at once. Not ideal. But I think Diami had a very loud 3 for 30, in part because some catches came in some big spots. I think he did a good job of getting vertical down the field, good job of attacking the ball and the comebacks. Like, he did the things that he was supposed to do. He also gets in there and mixes it up as a blocker. Nobody had a good game blocking yesterday. In general, like when he's getting stuck on some of the assignments he did, because like sometimes he's stuck blocking a linebacker because the tackle blocks the wrong guy. Like, there's all kinds of messed up, really intricate stuff in the run game that was not good yesterday for Washington. In general, the details were bad yesterday for Washington, and I think the receivers were part of that. But I think Diami, outside of Terry, probably was the guy who did all that stuff the best.
Number 6.
All right, last but not least, I said insert kicker here. It wound up being Greg Joseph instead of Zane Gonzalez. So the concern with Gonzalez is his plant foot. They said that he almost played. They're going to go back to him when he's healthy. Presumably that's this week. Kicking on the indoor surface makes planting a little bit trickier, I guess, than the softness of the grass. And obviously we saw Greg Joseph kick off very well, miss a field goal that then got wrapped back around. Okay, cool. Just kidding. That wasn't the end of the third. It's the start of the fourth, and your field goal is good. And then he misses the most important kick of the game late. That sucks. None of the nonsense with the clock matters. None of the 2-point conversion matters. None of that matters if Greg Joseph just makes his kick. And it's really frustrating. As for the decision, I told you earlier in the show, Anthony, I didn't really have strong feelings about it. And I actually have that validated by science now, because I went to a 4th down bot calculator and was able to put in the situation. Your win percentage, if you hit the field, or if you go for a field goal, they consider it 96%, 98% if you get it, 90% if you fail. Punt was a 95%, and even though it was 4th and 16, it was so likely you win the game at that point that go for it was also 93%, 92% if you fail, 99% if you succeed. By the way, they said the success rate 14% on 4th and 16, which feels very high. 70% success rate on the field goal. So that's the win probability goes up 1.1% by going field goal attempt. That is the biggest gap, and thus this particular 4th down bot, it's the best that we can do for analytics, said that kicking the field goal was the right decision. But you see why it's a risk. Dude missed it, and that's why he was available.
Yeah, I mean, just over his career, though, he has been terrible past 40, Craig. It is not good when he's kicking that far. So, I don't know. Maybe they saw something in practice where they felt as though, this was a good spot for him. But
there just aren't good kickers available. Like, that's the reality of the situation. If there's a good kicker available, there's a bunch of teams that would love to replace their kicker right now. Unfortunately, they can't. But yeah, from 50 plus in his career, he is 17 for 30. So that is not great. Not great, Bob. But he had made his only previous attempt from 50 this year when he was with the Giants.
Okay.
So he was 4-7 between 40 and 49, but 1 for 1 above 50 yards this year. Now in 2022, he was 4 of 10. The year before that, 2021, he was 7 of 9. So, like, talking about inconsistency, you're just hoping it's good. He's got the leg to do it.
Yeah.
But, like, just because you can hit it that far, like, just because someone can shoot from, Steph Curry range doesn't mean they should. Like, the point is not that you can hit the rim. The point is, like, can you actually make it in the way that, like, I don't know, Steph Curry does or Damian Lillard does? Yeah. And Joseph's not that guy. So I think the other hard part is, though, like, your defense wasn't particularly good in the second half. If your defense was just nails the entire game, then maybe you trust him to get one more stop. But I still think I probably lean towards punting there. I'd probably just be like, let's just pin him inside the 10. But I also don't I'm not super mad at that decision. I'm more mad at kicking a 23-yard field goal earlier in the game. You should just go for it on 4th and 5 versus, I'm going to put that one in the 4th down bot in a second, versus that decision not to punt and when you could go up by 2 scores with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think I would have leaned towards the punt just because of the history.
Punt to win. Punt to win.
And I trust Tress.
That is also true. I trust Tress. I trust the punt coverage. Tress will just bomb it in the air. Jeremy Reeves will go down there and catch it.
Yep.
Would be nice. Hey, if Jeremy Reeves can catch, can he play some more defensive back? Because they need someone who can catch back there.
Hey, Craig, I got a question for you. Should we save for the other side of the break?
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Plus 301-230-0980. Anthony's question and your phone calls next. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, Anthony, I've gone to the fourth down bottom, my 23-yard field goal. Do you want that, or do you want to ask your question first?
I We can wait.
Okay. So on the decision to kick the 23-yard field goal at the beginning of or the middle of the third quarter, the one that put the Commanders up 17-0. There's not a huge difference here in what the bot says in terms of win percentage. If you go for it, it is the preferred option, but it's less than 1%. Go for it. Succeed 35% of the time, so you fail 65% of the time. But if you succeed, you have a 99% chance of winning. If you fail, you have a 97% chance of winning. But here's the thing. Field goal attempt, success rate, 99%. If you fail, you miss it, it's 97% chance you win. If you succeed, it's 97% chance you win. There's literally no difference in percent win, make the field goal or not, according to these analytics. And if you that number is the exact same as if you fail to make the fourth down conversion. And the reason for that, I know that sounds crazy. How can it be no difference in making the field goal or not? The answer is simple. If you miss the fourth down conversion, there's a very good chance that the opposing team, now pinned within their own 5-yard line, is very conservative in their play calling, goes 3 and out, or maybe converts 1 first down, punts it back to you, you get good field position, and then you go down and score. And so, at the very least, I want to say you're guaranteed a field goal, but you are very likely to get back into field goal range anyway without the score having changed, and in fact, now less time remaining in the game, and you are probably likely, and you've got multiple chances to score a touchdown, not only in that 4th and 5 situation, Anthony, but on the ensuing drive, and presumably starting with good field position. I hate 20-yard field goals. Ban them forever unless you can win the game with one when time is going to expire.
What if we were on like the 9-yard line? We have to kick a 26-yarder.
No. Does it start with the 2?
Okay.
Then don't kick it.
What about from the 12-yard line? You want us to go for it then?
Well, if you're at the 12-yard line,
you can still be first. You can still be 4th and goal from the 12.
You could. At that point, okay, fine. You need to get 12. I still might consider it.
I just think the end zone and the space down there just shrinks, though. Like, it's not a lot of places.
The 12 is what, a 29-yarder?
Yeah. It's just not a lot of space down there.
There's not, but I mean, that's the argument to go for it from the 12 is there's actually more space. And like, let's say you even try to go something underneath and you don't get there. Okay, you gain 7 yards. Now they've got to start from their own 5. Okay, you gave up 3 points, but then what happens next? Ban, sub. The numbers back it up. Ban sub 30-yard field goals. Don't kick them ever, coaches. Please. Dan loves to kick them.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
He's going to take those points.
Sure does. All right. Let's go to Andy on the phones, and then we'll get to Anthony's question. Andy, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. Listen to you guys all the time. But the question I had was, like, we've all seen the glaring stats with regards to Cliff Kingsbury's second half of the season with his offensive coordinating. How much of yesterday was that, as far as play calling and scheming the offense, or was it the New Orleans Saints scheming the defense to be like stalwarts in a sense of kind of like shutting us down? Because our offensive output yesterday with regards to points was pathetic in the second half.
Well, I mean, it was in the second half, but it's a second half where Jayden missed Terry for 3 touchdowns that were wide open.
Correct, and that's great point. He definitely missed the mark by maybe a foot there.
So, that's the thing is, like, when we're talking about play calling, they scored 14 in the first half. They already had a field goal on the board in the second half. If Jayden hits 2 of those 3 that are as wide open as he'll have all year, and they weren't 60-yard throws. They're like 30, 40-yard throws. Those are relatively easy throws as far as deep ball goes. Like, we're not having this discussion.
Correct.
So I don't.
Good point.
So that would be my retort. I will say I think New Orleans did a good job against the run game. Some of that was Washington could not execute anything, and at that point, I don't know what Cliff is supposed to call. Their pulling stuff was bad. Their zone stuff was bad. They couldn't run duo, like their straightforward 2 double teams man-to-man blocking scheme, like halfback dive in Madden. They couldn't run that. Like they couldn't block anything. But also, it does feel like New Orleans had a couple of unscouted things that they did, which sometimes just happens in the NFL. But all in all, like I tend to lean on Cliff did, like having watched 3/4 of the All-22 tape and knowing that I've got a couple more Terry deep shots that were just misses to go, I have no real problems with Cliff and don't think there's any kind of like regression happening here.
Duly noted. This last question, and thank you so much for taking my call.
You got it.
What happened to the screen game that was so prevalent in games 1 and 2? And that's my only follow-up question.
It's a good question. I actually think the screen game was pretty good yesterday. They had 1 to OZ. There was another one, I think, or I guess they didn't really have a screen to Diami. They had a couple. They had like a reverse to Diami that was really well executed. But there was one to B-Rob, I think, that actually got out a little bit. I mean, part of it is Austin is out, and like he's the running back stuff. Like that's a big part of it. I do think they got a little sloppy in some of the execution on some of the wide receiver stuff for a long time. But I do think Tennessee, they hit a couple. And then I think they hit a couple yesterday. So I'm hoping that it's back, and I'd hope that we get like some big explosives off of it. But I just think the details weren't very good there for the middle stretch of the season, and it does look like it's something they've cleaned up a little bit the last couple of games.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Got to polish it up before this weekend, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
You.
They definitely could use those explosives. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you. All right, let's go to Terry, presumably not McLaurin. Terry with us here on the Hoffman Show on a Tell the Truth Monday.
Hey, thanks for my call. Look, I really enjoyed the game yesterday. I really want to chime in on the missed deep throws from Terry. I believe if Jayden, a.k.a. Slim Reaper, I believe he get more reps with Terry in practice. I think they'll connect better. And also, Chris Rodriguez, I wanted to see him play along with Brian Robinson. I mean, I like 26, the other guy, but I think Chris has done enough to get that position, to get more playing time. That guy's a downhill runner, and he's a finisher. And I think, we need to get more physical up front, and I think he's the guy.
Well, it doesn't matter if your offensive line doesn't block very well, Terry. And unfortunately, like the problems yesterday weren't the backs. It wasn't McNichols. It wasn't Robinson. There's nothing Chris could have done. Like the run, there were dirty looks yesterday. The Saints had some stunts up front. The offensive line did a bad job of picking them up. Sam Cosmi missed a ton of blocks. Dieter wasn't very good. Allegretti could not get any movement on his guy. It was just they did a bad job blocking yesterday. And so I think the problem is I think see Chris Rodriguez as a late game closer where there's a set amount of plays that he runs really, really well. And if you're trying to run to close out the game, you can get there. And those plays weren't working early in the game, so they were going to try to close out the game a different way. My guess is, based off of what he's done and the amount he plays, is they don't trust him with the full playbook. He misses too many assignments, blocking, receiving, whatever. And so they put him into his niche little role, and he's really good at it, but you have to get to that point in the game. You can't bring your closer out of the bullpen if you don't have the lead late. And in this particular case, the lead late is not just having the lead late, but knowing that you can run the football to close out the game, as opposed to just knowing, hey, these runs aren't going to go anywhere and we're going to punt. So I think they wanted a more open playbook, and that's why Chris Rodriguez didn't get a lot of looks yesterday.
I understand your philosophy, but I just believe if you use them early and you can wear it in the defense, then the whole playbook opens up.
I mean,
I just believe we need to start with the run.
They did. It didn't work. It was bad. All right, thanks for the call, Terry. I'm sorry that I sound what do I sound, Anthony? Obstinate, sound annoyed. Just the game is the game.
Yeah.
The tape is the tape. And trust me, I felt that way coming out of the game yesterday. I was like, I felt like they should have run it more. I felt like they got a couple carries early, and they did have some carries early. I mean, but let's go through it. See how many runs I can see here. First run of the game, B-Rob, 1. B-Rob does a good job, gets 9 on his second carry, 5 on his third carry. Next design run winds up being a Jayden Daniels keeper, 1 yard. Zone read by Jayden for 5 yards. 1 yard gain, gets you behind the sticks. That's in the red zone. That's in the red zone. That's in the red zone. Okay, now we're on the second drive. 74 whiff, B-Rob, 2 yards. They then get quick game for 6, quick game for a first down. So pass. They have that little jet pass to Diami. That's kind of a run, but it goes down as a pass. Big play. Next run is not until the next drive. Bad zone read pull by Jayden. That's a B-Rob penalty, so now you're in 2nd and 20. They eventually get their way out of that 2nd and 20. Cosme whiffs and Dieter loses on a zone read. That was a good give by Jayden, but they lose on the front side. So, good decision to give the ball to B-Rob. B-Rob's got nowhere to go. You have the OZ screen for 9 in that drive. You have, that jet sweep action to B-Rob. That was a good handoff. That was 7. And they score a touchdown. B-Rob -1. They have that naked bootleg on a 3rd and 1 out in the field that's snuffed out. And then they're in a 2-minute situation. That's all the runs in the first half. You had a couple 5-yarders, you had the 1 9-yarder where B-Rob bounced it and it was good. But how many times did 1 yard, 2 yard, Coleman whiff, Cosme whiff? You can't run the ball to nowhere. It puts you behind the sticks. It puts you in a bad spot. And so late in the game, I think Cliff was we've had other stuff that is more successful. And by the way, the offense did not close out the game. The offense got them down to a point where Greg Joseph had to make a field goal and he missed it. So for as much as I would love to see more running and the offense be more successful, I don't exactly know where the point of failure is. The point of failure is the run throughout the entire game. So there's that. All right, Anthony, when we get back, we're getting to whatever question you wanted to ask me. So we'll get to Anthony's question next, and we'll wrap up the show with real things real people said into real microphones here on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. Wrapping up here. Oh, we have extra time today because it's Terps Talk after the show, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was about to rush because we have a ton of stuff to get to here, but I don't have to rush anymore. All right, Anthony, what was your question that you had for me 20 minutes ago?
So it was on the kicking front.
Okay.
Since the new league year started in March, Craig, can you name, first of all, it's a two-part question, how many kickers
have I got?
Yeah.
7. I remember Nikki tweeted it out last week.
Okay. Can you name all 7?
No is the simple answer. Let's see how many I can get. All right, Brandon McManus is the one who screwed all this up because he was allegedly a terrible person and didn't tell Adam Peters that he was going to be sued for allegedly being a terrible person. Feels worth mentioning that the charges were dismissed, so maybe it was just an allegation, but not great. So you got that situation. They then brought in. Well, let me try to work in reverse. Zane Gonzalez, Greg Joseph, Austin Seibert.
You got 4. You're killing it right now, Craig.
I'm gonna score over 50%, but I literally don't remember the kickers from training camp.
I'll give you a hint. This guy, LSU kicker, played for the Browns as well.
Cade York.
Cade York.
They did have Cade York for a hot second. Okay.
The other 2, one came from the AFL.
Yeah,
Ramiz.
That's the guy. Oh, yeah. All due respect to him, I literally was like, I'm not learning his name. He's not kicking here.
Yeah.
He's a camp body.
Okay, and there was a guy that he was competing against, Craig.
Yeah, I don't remember him either.
Riley Patterson.
Oh, yeah. I
just wanted to see if you were going to be able to,
Congrats to all of them for collecting NFL paychecks. You're in the top 1% of kickers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That is something to be proud of. None of you are in the top 1% of NFL kickers. In fact, you are all apparently in the bottom, 10% of NFL kickers, which is why the Commanders have needed all of you.
Yes.
Okay. Time for real things real people said in real microphones, including an update, Anthony, on the Hoffman Show Fantasy League fantasy playoffs.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
So Anthony with a big groan there, as I mentioned the Hoffman Show Fantasy League playoffs. Anthony, at least you made the playoffs.
Oh, you didn't make the playoffs, Greg?
I did not make the playoffs, which is good for whoever I would have been playing, because entering tonight, where I still have Justin Jefferson to go, I've dropped 150 points this week.
Oh, that's it?
Because I have Devontae Adams, James Conner, Puka Nacua.
Oh, my gosh, Craig. I'm looking at your team right now.
Yeah.
Your kicker went crazy.
I'm built for the playoffs. I just didn't make them.
Oh, my. Now, your entire team, I'm looking at your bench. And, even if you played guys on your – even if you played the Detroit Lions defense, you got a negative 12.
I played the right defense of the 2 that are on my roster. I played the Carolina Panthers, who only got -1.
You still would – oh, my gosh, Craig. Yeah, your team did.
Unfortunately, I missed the playoffs. Your team made the playoffs, Anthony.
Man.
The problem is you ran into Tony Squares, who has been the best team in the league all year, an absolute buzzsaw. My partner on the First Impression Selection show I do on YouTube and some other stuff that I do on YouTube as well. And during the First Impression Selection show, which is a show that we do around 11:30 on Mondays live at Craig Hoffman on YouTube, we pick all of the games for the following week against the spread. So way too early Week 16 NFL picks if you want to go watch it. Tony did have a message for you before we signed off.
To producer Anthony Haney, I got your ass this week, and I'm going to be getting it again next week. Fantasy playoffs are mine, my friend.
And he is whooping my ass right now. Is this a 2-week thing?
It's a 2-week playoff.
Oh, I still got a chance. Let's go.
What's the current score?
Okay. Currently, the score is 136-88. He has Darnell Mooney to play today. I have TJ Hawkinson and Atlanta's defense. So hopefully Atlanta's defense can, show me some love, and then TJ can, make it a little interesting. I think I'll have a chance though. Yeah, this week my team just came out flat. They didn't do anything.
A rough outing. I mean, if you get it like to 100, that's
as long as I'm like 30 points down, I think I'll be in striking distance.
I mean, Tony sometimes talks a little. You and Tony have this in common. Sometimes you'll talk a little too much smack, a little too early.
Yeah.
Start doing a little bit of counting of chickens before the hatching of the chickens.
Oh my gosh, he had Jared Goff on his bench.
Oh, that could have been way worse for you.
41 points sitting on his bench. Crazy.
That Goff, stunningly, not the highest scorer. That was Devontae Adams, who was on my starting roster with 42 in a game that doesn't matter.
Damn.
What else do we have for real things? I didn't even open the folder because I was so distracted by making sure that you heard from Tony. Let's see. This is fantastic. Lamar Jackson, you might have seen a highlight of him yesterday where it's like, oh, did he hurt his hip? Nope, he was holding his pants up. Why?
All right, so look, they was asking me that, so I'm like, I felt like wind was touching my butt, so I was trying to keep my tights up for real. I feel like the tights just like got a little loose or something. I don't know. So I was like just trying to keep my pants up, but that's all it was. It was too cold out there. Like, what?
It was too cold out there. Like, what the?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've all had that feeling of exposed skin in places that we don't want it exposed.
Yeah.
Just his would be on national television.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I don't think there was no exposure. His pants looked like pants.
It did, but
maybe it's because he was holding them in place.
Yeah. Maybe his actual football pants were slipping down off of the tights. Because when you wear football pants over tights, they don't like stick like they usually do.
Or were the tights sliding underneath the football pants?
Well, yeah, that's probably what he was probably experiencing.
That could have been the issue.
Yeah.
All right, tomorrow on the show, we'll continue to talk about the game. I will have watched the rest of the offense in the fourth quarter. I will have watched the defense on the All-22, so share some thoughts of that. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, so we will get your thoughts on how you're feeling at 9-5 entering Philly Week Part 2. Mitch Tischler will join us, and we'll see what other shenanigans we get into on the Hoffman Show. Terps Talk next here on the Team 980.